Welcome everyone. This is welcome to another podcast, and we can talk about real estate investing, cash flow properties. My name is Seewing Yee from the Yee Real Estate Network, and my special guest speaker once again is Mr. Richard.advani from Supreme Lending. He is a investment loan agent for the most part for many years, and he has done many financing and investment loans for not only for our real estate investors, for my network, but he has helped, I don't know, he lost count, thousands of investors to buy cash flow investment properties all over the country, especially in a good areas such as the Midwest and the South and Southeast. So if anyone understand the kind of cash flow properties that are attractive in whatever part of the country, he does, Mr. Advani does. Not only that, not only he has helped many investors to finance many investment properties, he himself have purchased many properties in the areas that we are promoting our investment properties. So he has an intimate understanding, very intimate, more than anyone else that I know. So Richard, thank you for attending, and I'm going to ask for your perspective. Now, before we go, we're going to go over the pro forma. So I'm going to talk about something that lost in people's mindset in the past 2 years, ever since the pandemic. The pandemic, when the pandemic began, the real estate market really has skyrocketed, and most real estate investors are focusing in a fast-growing area, especially new construction, cash flow homes in the South and Southeast. We're talking, Texas and Florida and North Carolina, a few other places. But one area of the region of the U.S. where real estate investors from all over the country, for the past, as far as I know, for the past 20 years, have been buying these type of homes. Okay, and what I mean is the Midwest. What I mean by Midwest market, the blue collar market. We're talking. Midwest is typically, Cleveland, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, Memphis, Tennessee, Cincinnati, Ohio, Indianapolis, Ohio. Those, cookie cutter, blue collar, stable market where those homes are very old and the prices are very low, but the rent is very high. So many of our investors and other investors from all over the country, all over the world, have been buying in the Midwest market ever since I've known for the past 20 years. Very inexpensive, good cash flow. So, however, again, the last few years, for some reason, Richard, I'm sure you understand, the luster has kind of worn off about this kind of cash flow homes, low prices, for whatever reason. And but I want to revisit, go back to this type of market that the Midwest low purchase price, high cash flow markets are still should be part of a real estate portfolio. So if a real estate investor have a goal of buying 10 out-of-state properties, for example, right? You diversify, right? You buy some relatively low cash flow but high appreciation potential in Austin or San Antonio, Texas, or Central Florida or Southwest Florida, Cape Coral or Orlando or Raleigh, North Carolina, right? Those homes are a little bit more expensive, $300K new builds, renting for $2,200, but the cash flow is kind of low, but still a very good purchase. But the Midwest still should be a part of someone's portfolio. So with that in mind, before I share the pro forma, you have a quick comment before I share the pro forma, Richard? I mean, you've done, as a matter of fact, you've done a lot of loans for my investors on this very low purchase price point. So what is your take on this high level about the importance of maintaining this type of cash flow homes in someone's portfolio?
Well, I think it's extremely important. And a lot of people kind of graduate from those properties from what I've seen, and they end up selling them instead of holding them longer term. And I'm guilty of the same mistake in the past as well. And what's crazy is those cash flow homes I look at today, they turned out to be appreciation homes as well. Yep. In the last 3 to 4 years, they've almost doubled from where I sold them, and they were high cash flowing properties. So, as with anything, don't preclude any investment in any type of real estate investment from your portfolio. You know, it's important to have a balanced portfolio, but also know what you're buying and know who you're buying from, I think is very important. But I agree with you 100%. Let's jump into some examples.
Oh yeah. So again, there's a lot of misconception going on, and let me give you two, maybe three different properties. Now we are highlighting Niagara Falls, Buffalo. I know, Buffalo is located in the northwest of New York State, but still kind of close to the Midwest. Next door is Ohio, then and whatever. So, so even though we're talking about Buffalo and Niagara Falls, this pro forma is a representation of a typical Midwest market. Now, the best thing about what we can talk about is, Richard, you know that you have done a lot of loans for our investors and for other investors. They're buying in this type of Midwest market to this day. You have from, like, for example, in this turnkey provider in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, they've been selling this low price homes, $40,000 to $100,000 price range to foreign investors for many, many years. And for all cash, that's how people from foreign country, they buy real estate here in the US. And then other investors from California and from other places, they still buy Midwest markets, such as this kind of situation. But the key is a lot of our first-time investors are newbies. They still do not understand. They have a lot of misconception or a lot of concerns around buying in this kind of houses. So Richard and I gonna do our best to just to clarify any misunderstanding, just to overcome any concerns, because at the end of the day, you buying an investment property that will give you the returns on paper, the numerical formulas you have to go through. Now, I'm not going to go through the scientific formulas; it'll bore you to death. But we can discuss at high level. I'm going to show three properties. I mean, by the way, I know Richard does no longer do loans under 80,000. I understand, but we have another loan agent that can help our investors get a financing on a. Correct me if I'm wrong, Richard. On a house, in this house for $44,000, this lender that Richard connect me to can do loans for this purchase price. Think about it. An investor buy $44,000 price, a totally rehab property, because we're working with a turnkey provider that's been in this Buffalo market for more than 30 years. So they must be doing something right. They must have credibility and and track record to continue to sell this kind of homes to RSA investors, because this is turnkey properties. Oftentimes the tenant is already in place. They rehab the property with their own money. That the materials they get from a local Home Depot, they get it at a discount because they've been doing business with Home Depot in this market, Niagara Falls, for so long. So the cost saving is passed on to the investors. And at the end of the day, the home is totally rehab. It's turnkey. You can cash flow at day one after you close escrow. So there are three sample property. This property, 44 grand. You do 20% down payment, right? Which is total out of pocket for investors, a little bit more than $12,800, including closing costs, at a monthly rent of for $500. So you still cash flow, around a little bit less than $100 per month, positive cash flow. So, for investors who was a beginner, they want to have a low risk of their very, very low risk situation. Hey, there's nothing wrong with buying something like this because it's turnkey. At the end of the day, after you close escrow, the property management will do everything for you. I mean, for just like any other turnkey properties that we promote. I mean, as a out-of-state passive investor that you are, you buy this house under your own name or the name of the LLC, 100% yours, but you do very little work. I mean, you just delegate everything to others to help you maintain your investment property for many years to come. So the numbers all look good. The rent to value ratio, again, I'm not going to go over the formulas. It'll bore you to death, but the capitalization rate is very favorable. The rent to value ratio is above benchmark, believe it or not. In the total return, you could, in this kind of Midwest market, you can still, they are still appreciating. You know, this market is no different than any other market in a country, low supply, high demand. So you're still getting a little bit of appreciation on this kind of properties as well. So, so what are your thoughts quickly? What are your thoughts on this such a low end property, casual property? I know it's very old and all of that, but we have cash flow is turnkey, is like, so it's just easy, low risk. So what are your thoughts on this, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great product for entry-level investor, or even a savvy investor with obviously who wants to put a relatively limited amount down. You know, I own some high cash flow properties in my portfolio and they do perform very well. But once again, you do need to be strategic with them. Inherently, they are going to have obviously a little more that goes into them than say a new construction property, like the ones that you sell or promote as well. Seewing. So, you know, I think it is important for people to know that, you know, with that higher return of, you know, in this example, 19%, inherently there is going to be some more speed bumps on the road as opposed to, you know, buying a new construction home. But once again, having that blended portfolio and having some properties that generate the cash flow is extremely important, especially at the price points that you can get into them at.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, Richard, yeah, well said. I'm going to show two more houses, pro forma, if you will. And this time I'm going to show a higher price single family home in the same market, Buffalo, Niagara Falls. By the way, on my pro forma, you know, I try to be realistic. I try to be, what's the other word? Transparent. So on my pro forma, I put down a vacancy rate of 2%. And the maintenance percentage of 8%. So that means in any given year, because this is an older property, you know, you need to, our investor need to allocate approximately 8, even 10% of their rent to pay for the maintenance costs, cosmetic improvement that is going to, something is going to break down on these older houses. So investors have to set the expectation before they buy in this market, right? They require a little bit more understanding. Don't get, you know, the biggest challenge I see for investors are they you know, they get annoyed by some of these maintenance costs, a little bit of stress involved, but I don't know. Anyway, okay, this second property is 69,500. It rents for $750. So right off the bat is more than 1% rent to value ratio. And then you put 20% down payment, only less than $18,000 out of pocket. Come on, that's almost, yeah, you know, almost no risk really. I mean, such a small down payment. The risk is so small. At the end of the day, you know, your monthly rent of $750 minus your monthly mortgage, taxes, insurance, and property management fee, 8%. Maintenance factor, 2% vacancy factor, and you still have a positive monthly net cash flow is almost $200. And you factor in another 2% appreciation, then look at the total rate of return over here, which is double-digit total rate of return. So on paper, I mean, the number-wise, it makes sense. So investor have to, you know, really understand what they're getting into. So before you say anything, Richard, I'm going to go over one more property. Again, you can buy a triplex or even a fourplex for around $100,000 to $150,000 in this, you know, typical Midwest market here in Niagara Falls. This recent listing. Oh, by the way, all this property, you know, they're promoted by this turnkey provider is off market, right? That means the general public have no access to this type of listings. Is only available to our investors. Isn't that cool? You're not even have to subject to multiple bidding war and, you know, overbid, and you don't have to pay for you pay no money out of pocket for the rehab cost. That is such a win, such a benefit for investors, right? Anyway, you buy The home is all ready to go, all ready, the tenant already in place, been totally rehabbed by this great turnkey provider here in Buffalo. And this third property was showing, you're not gonna find this kind of cash flow properties anywhere in the country. Okay, I know it's very old still, but you know, but they've been rehabbed properly. You know, the roof has been, you know, done a few years back, and electrical system has been upgraded. The boiler has been replaced. All the foundations have been upgraded. So the outside the house, you know, may not the prettiest, you know, he's not the prettiest girl in town. But you know, if it's earning you as an investor, if earning you the return, short term and long term, why not? Why not include this cash flow, high cash flow properties portfolio to offset against, you know, the lower cash flow, higher appreciation, new construction homes that you can get elsewhere from for $250K, $350,000 single family home and $500 duplexes in, you know, fast growing markets in Texas and Florida. So let's get back to this triplex, 3-unit, $102,000, 25% minimum down payment. Out of pocket is a little bit less than $26,000. You can get yourself a amazing cash flow property. And then initial cash invested is 30 grand. It rents for $1,500 in all 3 doors. So each unit, each door rents for $500, minus the typical 2% vacancy, minus the taxes, insurance, property management fee of 10%. And then I also put down the maintenance factor of 7%, which is, you know, pretty realistic. At the end of the day, you're getting a monthly net cash flow of $682. Now, this is a very good return, very good cash flow, relatively speaking. So, you know, where else can you buy a triplex getting this kind of returns, but from this very reputable turnkey providers that we have a connection with? So, Richard, you have done a lot of these loans for our investors over the years. So what's your take? What's your personal experience around getting financing? And the appraisal works, believe it or not. You know, you can get financing in many other areas of the Midwest market, whereby the promoters are promoting houses, whereby you cannot even get financing because they're not ethical. Let's put it that way. They're not ethical. All right. So what's your big take on this as an investment loan agent, as experience? You have experience. You have done so many of these loans in this market, Midwest market, including Niagara Falls, for our investors. What's your take on what I just said?
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to go and meet the Knazis in Buffalo. I don't even know, maybe 4 years, 5 years ago, give or take. Actually, believe it or not, the first rental I ever bought 15 years ago was in Buffalo. So I am definitely familiar with the market. You know, I went and actually met the Knazis at their home. It's a family-run business. They've been doing it, as you mentioned, I think 30 or 40 years. And, you know, the interesting thing is they meet most of their investors at their home where they live.
Yep. And
to me, right away, that was, you know, a good sign, right? They're not trying to peddle garbage. If they did, they wouldn't be meeting you at the home where they live. Right. You know? And I went and toured a bunch of the properties. And the great thing about the Knazi group is they have entry level stuff like we saw at 40,000. They have stuff up to 150 to 180,000. So, you know, no matter what type of product you want to buy within the high cash flow, because even within high cash flow markets, there's still more aggressive things which have a higher return and a little less aggressive, which have a little lower return. And they have, you know, all of those products across the board. But yeah, I mean, I was impressed back then with the market. It's appreciated substantially in the last 4 to 5 years in most of the areas as well. And there is money and gentrification starting to happen. But most importantly, you know, when you're dealing with high cash flow properties, the team is very important. And, you know, I can personally say, you know, the team that I met there was, you know, very impressive, and they're not a fly-by-night company. You know, they've been there a long time, and will be there for a long time to come.
Yep, Richard, I totally agree. You're coming from a man of experience. You are giving a very objective no, I would not say recommendation, objective analysis of this market, because you have a firsthand understanding of it, because we have done many loans for many investors, including our network investors. So the big picture is, when an investor, they have a they want to buy multiple investment properties, they need to diversify geographically, buy some properties in Texas, some in North Carolina, some in Florida for a higher cost, newer construction homes that cash flow a little bit, but knowing that appreciation potentials are very, very good moving forward. Offset that with higher cash flow properties in the Midwest market, such as Buffalo, Niagara Falls. That way you can balance your portfolio geographically speaking, as well as numerically speaking, especially people that want to have more retirement monthly income, that want to have more passive income, and they have limited time to do so. There's nothing wrong to buy 3, 4, 5 of these, homes in Buffalo, Niagara Falls to increase their passive income, because their retirement goal is so close, right? For those people that are close to retirement, that's one scenario. But yeah, moving forward, I know the trophy markets we've been hearing, in high growth areas and all of that, newer homes that will continue to do well. But do not forget about this type of older homes, high cash flow markets. You have a balanced portfolio moving forward. So does that make sense, Richard? You agree?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that in mind, thank you for attending. Hopefully, that we have addressed a lot of concerns for any investors out there that are contemplating buying this type of property. So thank you for listening to the Seewing Yee, and my special guest speaker is Mr. Richard.advani from Supreme Lending. Thank you.